Welcome back to another episode of Jacksonville Buzz's Buzzworthy Businesses. I'm Steve Strum. Sitting next to me is Della from the Girls of Virtue. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful.
It is so good to see you. I have had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with you off camera talking about who you are as a human being. This is going to be such a cool story, and I just hope we get it all in. If we can't, we're going to have to bring you back. So, To catch the audience up, you are a small business owner, business owner of the year for Jacksonville a couple of years back, or something like this.
For the Arlington Council, 2023 Jacksonville Chamber.
So business person of the year. You have done a lot of business in areas around the city and around the area, a lot of auto, business in auto, which is a thing. And now you are using your platform and your success professionally to give back to the ladies, soon to be the fellas, Girls of Virtue, to help the young men and women of our society that are at the most risk of failure. Did I get that right? Also, good. Right around the corner from the best opportunity of success, all they need to do is get the little spark. Tell us a little bit about how you have evolved into the person sitting here and what you're doing for our great community.
I don't know if we got enough time for me to tell you.
That's why you got to come back. But pick one or two.
The heart behind everything we're doing right now is my tithe when I launched my first company. So you had it right. I'm 2023 Jack's Chambers Arlington Council Small Business. So there were some people that actually won and earned the citywide one. But it was a consulting firm. I just wanted to disrupt the automotive industry. I've been in the car business for 22 years. And I wanted to tithe. Like, I'd been tithing my whole career, and I was excited to tithe in my business to help our kids. And it just lit a fire in my soul in the gaps and within our community that I began to see for our kids. The kids are struggling, and not even just our kids at at-risk programs. The at-risk programs, they need food, they need housing, they need mental health from the trauma that they're going through. But our young adults as a whole are really struggling with anxiety, like they call it, the anxious generation. It is the first generation, Gen Z, that has been completely without prayer and Bible being taught to them. So they're really struggling with identity and self-worth and believing that they have a purpose. And through kind of just listening to what the Lord asked me to do, I united some people in our city. I mean, there's nothing about any time I can use the word I that it's ever been me. It has been leaning in what God asked me to do and Him putting people alongside me along the way. And we built a center downtown that was really beginning to change lives. But due to the lease, we weren't able to stay. And we're going to launch a citywide initiative to bring some healing to each community from the inside out.
So when you talk about like what you're trying to do to impact, and a lot of people watching this, they go, yeah, you know what, we get it, the kids, there are the haves, the have-nots, and then there's like this whole middle ground of people that they almost evaporate and become, transparent to, they don't have not enough to be identified as a have-not. And they definitely don't have enough over here, but the need for their help predominantly might be for the economically depressed, but it's not just based off of checkbook. Correct. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things, and there's I know I sound like my parents here, but the world that we're living in today is so much different than the world that you and I grew up in. To your point, I think the big problem in my world, if I didn't make it home by the time the streetlights came on, we had problems. And now we have GPS trackers for the kids. We got this, we got that. 24/7 onslaught of information, good and bad. There is just such a wide bandwidth of areas where kids can fall into a hole. So what are some of the things that you do at the Girls of Virtue to be able to help those women right now, but young men and women soon to come, in order for them to be their best self and confident? I have a 20-year-old young girl myself. I get it. I also have 3 boys. I get it. Proud to report to you, auto lady, my dad taught me how to turn a wrench, and it is Skyland who learned how to turn the wrench out of all the boys, right? She's the one.
Some of our best technicians in the dealerships are women.
That's right. She knows how to run an impact wrench. I'm like, really? And my dad was like, really? And I'm like, yeah. I think I think my dad has a point of pride by which when he passes on, he's like, Steve taught Skyland how to turn a wrench. So
all jokes aside, 22 years in the car business, and I can't do that. But I have a great network of big brothers that do know how. So, but the thing that makes us different was the idea that our community needed 4 pillars. As an individual, it was the 4 pillars that, as I entered in my late 30s and early 40s, it was
Which
like,
was
okay.
last week. by the way. Right.
Not far in the 40 part.
I've been 29 for 20 years this year.
I like
That's
it.
Great.
And it was spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. Spiritually, I understood my self-worth and identity. I had a good understanding that I had a purpose and that no matter what it wasn't tied to a job or a relationship. I had really good understanding of like what was mental health, proactive, communication and healthy boundaries. And I had healed from the things that, and I was willing to face the things that I'd ever been through. I really had a good handle on health and nutrition. I'm a runner. I love CrossFit and yoga and paddleboarding and bike riding and all the things. And I had a really good rhythm of knowing like the processed foods make me not feel as good. And if I eat healthy and fresh fruits and veggies and meats, I feel better. And then I had a good understanding of my home. My money was good. I could afford to live on by myself, like without being stuck in a situation. My credit was good. I had a good understanding, or at least the ability to afford to have people help me in the pillars in which I did it. So we really pour into that full level of how do you take the young woman that we work with, you give her a mentor, you begin to educate her, and then you empower and equip her to lead well. And then you take that generation. So my target age has always been 17 to 24. I don't have to deal with their parents and they're old enough to make decisions. And you pour into them and then send them back into the community. And you change something. They're our next leaders. They're our next parents. They're going to be the ones that my generations, they're our kids. They're your kids. We'll listen. Like if they came home and were really adamant about they learned something and it was beginning to change in them, we're receptive. We'll begin to change. And then they're our next parents, and they're typically got little brothers and little sisters. I think that generation changes everything.
That's fantastic. And so as we take it away for now, we're going to have you come back, and maybe we could probably do a whole episode on all the 4 pillars, because it's you're building, it's like the legs of the stool, right?
Okay.
You got the 4 pillars, you knock one over, okay, fine, the other 3 show up, but there are so many people and they just don't have access to the tools and resources to understand how the 4 legs of the stool, the pillars as you have mentioned, can really create a complete individual that's complete in their own universe. And so then they can bring other people into their universe, but until they're complete in their own confidence, or, as you said, a girl having the ability to be independent without, definition of who she is with a fella. Those kind of things, right?
You see it all the time. They'll get into abusive relationships and I can't get them out because they can't afford to leave.
Right. And so you're giving them the tools and the resources for them to be their best self through these 4 pillars. So here's what we're going to do. Got to have you back, talk about just the 4 pillars. But for now, we're going to say to these guys, how wonderful of an experience it has been for you to join us here. And you're great. And I really appreciate you coming. But we can't do it without these men and women here. So guys, what a cool episode. Join us again for a conversation about the 4 pillars. Make sure to come check out Della on the Girls of Virtue on our website, which is thedailynewsnetwork.com. If you like this episode and you know somebody who might be able to show value from this thing, there's a little share button right around here somewhere. Please consider sharing the episode to somebody who could use it, but always remember to live with gratitude.